The first time my brother-in-law called my cooking trash, I laughed. I thought he was joking. We were all sitting at the dinner table, my sister, her kids, my parents, and of course Dean, the self-proclaimed food critic of the family. He took one bite of the roasted garlic chicken I had spent hours making and said, "I've had better at a gas station." Everyone went quiet. I smiled through clenched teeth, but my heart sank. I had cooked every part of that meal from scratch. The glaze on the carrots, the homemade sourdough I'd kneaded the night before. But to Dean, it was gas station food. My sister tried to smooth it over. "Dean," she said, "come on." "That's rude." But he just chuckled and took another bite, winking like it was all fun and games. It wasn't. That moment stuck with me like grease in a cast iron pan. I don't know what hurt more, his words or the fact that no one really stood up for me. I was always the one bringing dishes to family gatherings, always the one people texted when they wanted a cute little recipe for potlucks. But that night I felt like a fraud, like all the hours I'd poured into my tiny home kitchen were just for nothing. And Dean never let it go. Every time I cooked, he had something slick to say. "Little dry, don't you think? Needs more salt. Wow, did you follow a recipe this time or just wing it like usual?" He made it his mission to humiliate me, like my cooking was some joke only he was in on. And because he ran a mid-sized HVAC business and had that smug suburban confidence, everyone just kind of let it slide. But what Dean didn't know? I'd been working on something, quietly, slowly, secretly. Because while he was mocking my mashed potatoes, I was sneaking out to weekend cooking classes. While he was making his snide remarks at Sunday brunch, I was uploading anonymous food videos to a TikTok account. And while he was drinking his IPA and spitting critiques no one asked for, I was teaching myself plating techniques and French pastry. My name's Clara. I belong to a loud, opinionated, very American family who eats big and talks bigger. But I've always felt like the background character in my own life. Never the one to shine, always the helper. The "oh my God, this pie is amazing, Clara" girl, but only when I stayed quiet and smiled. Until things changed. It started small. One of my videos, a sped-up tutorial on how to make sourdough ravioli filled with lemon ricotta, blew up. Not viral, but enough that I hit 20,000 followers in a weekend. People started commenting, "This is stunning. I'd pay money to eat this. Please open a restaurant." My face wasn't even in the videos, just my hands, my voice, my food. And yet, strangers were treating me with more respect than my own family ever did. I didn't tell anyone at first, not even my sister, not even my mom, who still calls the internet the Wild West. Then came the email. A casting assistant from a reality cooking competition messaged me through TikTok. They said one of their producers stumbled on my mushroom risotto video and wanted me to audition for a new show. The twist? The contestants were all amateur chefs. People like me, no culinary school, just raw talent. I thought it was spam. I didn't respond for 2 days. Then I got a follow-up email. Legit this time. Links, credentials, everything. My heart raced. I sat there in my kitchen, still in my apron, flour on my cheek, staring at the screen like it was a portal to another universe. Could I really do it? Was I ready? I didn't feel ready, but I said yes. The next few weeks were chaos, Zoom interviews, paperwork, sending samples of my work, and the entire time I kept it a secret from my family, every last one of them, including Dean, especially Dean. I didn't want their opinions. I didn't want their fake encouragement or passive-aggressive comments. I wanted to prove it to myself first. The day I flew out to LA for filming, I told them I was visiting a friend from college. My sister looked suspicious. Dean made some dumb joke about me finally getting a life. I smiled. I let them think whatever they wanted. Filming the show was like stepping into a different world. Giant cameras, blinding lights, real celebrity judges I'd only seen on TV. I was shaking the first time I had to plate a dish on the clock, hands trembling as I placed edible flowers onto a mango tart. But somehow, I pulled it off. Week after week, I kept advancing. Contestants got eliminated left and right, but I held my ground. I learned how to tune out the chaos and focus on the food. I started to believe I belonged. Then came the final challenge. A live broadcast. 1 hour. Make a dish that tells your story. I didn't overthink it. I made the dish Dean called trash at that family dinner. Roasted garlic chicken, my version. I elevated it. Truffle mashed potatoes, honey-glazed carrots, a rich wine reduction sauce. But it was the same soul, the same heart. And when the judges tasted it, one of them literally closed his eyes and said, "This is comfort food, elevated to art." I almost cried. Then they handed me the trophy. On live TV, in front of millions. And guess who saw it? Dean. My brother-in-law saw the whole thing. My sister later told me he nearly choked on his drink when my name flashed across the screen with the words, "Winner, the Home Chef Showdown," underneath. I can only imagine the look on his face. I didn't get to see it live, but I knew it the second my phone started blowing up. First, it was texts from people I hadn't talked to in years. "Is this you on TV? Clara, you're famous? Just watched you slay that final dish, OMG, I'm crying." Then came the family group chat. My mom sent a screenshot of the TV with my face on it. My dad typed, "Proud of you, sweetheart." And Dean? He sent a single emoji. That's it. After years of treating my food like a joke, suddenly he had nothing to say. No clever little jab, no sarcastic critique, just shock. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. The very next day, I flew home. My sister picked me up from the airport, practically vibrating with excitement. She hugged me like she hadn't seen me in years. "You seriously didn't tell me?" She laughed, crying a little. "Clara, you were amazing. Like, I can't believe it's you. You cooked like a freaking pro." I smiled. It felt good to finally let it out. We sat in the car, and I told her everything, the classes, the secret TikTok account, the audition. She listened with her mouth wide open, like every word was a plot twist. But what she said next made me pause. She glanced over and said, "Dean's been real quiet since last night." Like, weirdly quiet. That surprised me. Dean? Quiet? When we got to their house, he was already in the kitchen. And let me tell you, the irony of that moment almost broke me. The same man who once said I'd be better off buying frozen dinners was standing over a pan, trying to flip an omelet that looked like it was losing a fight. He turned around and gave me a nod. Not a word, just a nod. "Hey," he said, like nothing happened. Like the last few years of relentless insults hadn't existed. I waited for the punchline, the backhanded comment, the signature Dean sarcasm, but it never came. He just left the room. I wasn't sure how to feel. I mean, this was the guy who once told me I'd ruined mac and cheese because I used Gouda instead of Velveeta. And now? Nothing. It was like I'd short-circuited his entire personality. The rest of the family treated me like I'd landed on the moon. My parents were gushing non-stop. My cousins were sharing the episode on Facebook like it was breaking news. And even my uncle, who never notices anything, sent me a long, proud voicemail saying he'd always believed in my gift. Sure, it was a little late, but whatever. I was still riding the high when the offers started coming in. A local restaurant reached out and asked if I'd guest chef a dinner series. A publisher emailed about a potential cookbook deal. And my follower count? It exploded. People wanted recipes, tutorials, behind-the-scenes content. I was officially in demand. But there was one thing that kept nagging at me. I didn't want to just win. I wanted Dean to understand why he was wrong. Not just about my cooking, but about me. I wanted him to feel what it's like when someone underestimates you for years, and you prove them dead wrong. So I came up with a plan. I invited everyone to my house for dinner, the whole family, just like old times. I told them I wanted to celebrate. Nothing fancy, just a cozy evening in. They all agreed, even Dean. I spent the entire day cooking, not to impress anyone, but to reclaim the kitchen. My kitchen. I made all the dishes Dean had once mocked. My version of comfort food, elevated, refined, and unapologetically me. Roasted garlic chicken, of course. Herb butter biscuits with whipped honey. smoked Gouda mac with caramelized onions, and for dessert, a layered lemon custard pie with a torched meringue that would make Gordon Ramsay weep. The table was set, candles lit, music low. Everyone arrived with smiles and hugs, except Dean, who gave me the same weird nod again. I watched him scan the table. I could see it in his eyes. Recognition. These were the same dishes he'd once trashed. But now, they looked like they belonged in a 5-star restaurant. He sat down, and I served everyone. Not a word from him. He took his first bite of the chicken and actually closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he didn't look at me.
He looked down. The silence was thick, and then, finally, he spoke. "This is the best chicken I've ever had." Everyone looked at him. I looked at him, and for the first time in years, Dean looked small, human, humbled. He cleared his throat. "I was kind of a jerk about your cooking before. I didn't really get it, but, I get it now." I didn't gloat. I didn't laugh. I just said, "Thanks," because that was enough. The apology I never thought I'd get. The acknowledgement I had secretly wanted all this time. After dinner, Dean asked if I'd teach him how to make the wine reduction sauce. I nearly dropped my spoon. The man who once mocked my bechamel wanted to learn from me. Maybe miracles are real after all. So, there I was, standing over my stove, walking Dean through how to reduce wine without turning it into syrup. I had to fight the urge to laugh every few minutes because watching him measure out ingredients like they were radioactive was something I never thought I'd live to see. "Do I stir now?" he asked, looking completely out of his element. "Not yet," I said. "Let the alcohol cook off first." He nodded, taking mental notes like a student cramming for finals. My sister peeked in from the living room and mouthed, "What is happening?" I just smiled. It was surreal. This man had once declared my stuffing inedible at Thanksgiving, and now he was asking me how to get that umami flavor right. Honestly, part of me wanted to hold on to the grudge a little longer, but watching him try, really try, was unexpectedly satisfying. After he left that night, my sister texted me. "He's been talking about that sauce for 2 days now." I responded with a single emoji. But here's where the story takes a turn. As my follower count kept growing, people started recognizing me in public, at grocery stores, at the farmer's market, even once in the parking lot of a Home Depot. A dad in cargo shorts shouted, "Hey, you're the chicken girl from that chef show!" Yeah, that's me, the chicken girl. I started taking sponsored deals, not anything crazy at first. Local kitchen brands, aprons, cooking gear. I partnered with a meal kit service and even launched a limited series of online classes. I made more money in 1 month than I had the entire previous year working retail. But the best part? I finally felt like I had a voice. And people were listening. Not just for recipes, but for stories. My stories. I started doing videos where I'd share family cooking traditions and talk about how food was always my way of showing love, even when it wasn't always appreciated. I didn't name names, of course, but people knew. Oh, they knew. The comment section exploded. "My family does this too. This reminds me of how my uncle used to treat me when I tried to bake. People always underestimate women in the kitchen unless they're on TV. Glad you proved him wrong." I felt seen in a way I hadn't before, but not everyone was thrilled. Dean got weird about it again. It started small. Comments like, "Bet that wine sauce paid for this new mixer," or "Must be nice to have fans who don't have to actually taste your food." At first I ignored it, brushed it off. But then one night at my parents' house, it bubbled over. We were at the dinner table and someone brought up my upcoming segment on a national morning show. Big deal. I was set to demo a quick holiday appetizer live, and they were even flying me out and covering my hotel. Everyone was excited, except Dean. He rolled his eyes and said, "I mean, it's cute that they're letting influencers pretend to be chefs now. What's next? TikTok surgeons?" The table went silent. I put my fork down, and this time I didn't smile. "Dean," I said, "I've cooked for Michelin chefs. I've won a televised competition judged by people you pay to watch on Food Network. I've built a business from scratch. So if you think I'm just some influencer pretending, that says more about you than me." He opened his mouth to speak, but my dad cut in. "Clara's earned every bit of this, and I think it's time we stop acting like it's a fluke." That moment hit harder than any trophy. My dad, old school, not one for compliments, was standing up for me, publicly, against Dean. Dean went quiet. Again. My sister leaned over and whispered, "Finally." The next morning, I flew to New York for the morning show. Everything about the experience felt like a movie. The lights, the makeup artist, the green room full of pastries I didn't touch because I was too nervous. My heart pounded as they counted down. "We're live in 3, 2, and then I was on. I demoed a cranberry brie puff pastry bite in under 4 minutes, made a joke about my infamous garlic chicken that got a laugh. The hosts loved it. The producers asked if I'd be open to coming back for a holiday baking special. I said yes. Of course I did. When I got home, there was a surprise waiting. My sister had gathered the whole family at her house, including Dean, to watch the playback. I walked in, still jet-lagged, and they all applauded. I'm not kidding. Actual applause. It felt corny, but I teared up anyway. Then Dean handed me something. It was a kitchen towel that read, "Trash chef no more." He laughed. All right, you got me. You win. You're the queen of the kitchen." I looked at him, raised an eyebrow. "Took you long enough?" He nodded. "Yeah, but better late than never." We shook hands like old rivals turning over a new leaf. And just like that, the tension melted. That night, he even helped me prep dinner. He chopped onions, poorly, and asked more questions about spices and pan heat. And when I caught him taking notes on his phone, I knew this man was humbled for real. And you know what? It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about making Dean eat his words, though he definitely did. It was about finally stepping into who I was, always meant to be, owning it, and never letting someone else's limited vision define my worth again. After that dinner, things changed. Dean, yes, that Dean, started texting me pictures of his dinners for feedback. At first, they were tragic, like chicken breast so dry it looked fossilized. But I didn't roast him, pun intended. I gave him tips, and slowly, he got better. One day, he even managed to poach an egg without turning it into rubber. But the real full-circle moment? He invited me to his office's holiday potluck and asked me to help him cook something for it. "Nothing too complicated," he said. "Just something that'll shut up Steve in accounting. He always brings those fancy smoked ribs." So we made chipotle honey meatballs with a touch of lime zest, served with sourdough crostini and a drizzle of crema. He texted me afterward. "Steve asked for the recipe. Thought you'd like to know I didn't just like it, I loved it, because that wasn't just a recipe request. That was Dean admitting that he finally saw my value and respected it." Meanwhile, my career kept leveling up. I launched a YouTube channel. My first long-form video was just me walking people through the garlic chicken recipe that started it all. I told the whole story. Yes, even the part about Dean calling it airplane food. I didn't name him, of course. I referred to him as a certain family member who thought rotisserie chicken was fine dining. The comments were wild. "Who is this Dean and how do we fight him? Girl, you better be charging him for lessons now. I swear this chicken cured my seasonal depression." Within a week, the video hit 1 million views. I started getting messages from young women saying they'd always loved cooking but were too afraid to try because people mocked them. Others told me they were finally stepping into their passion after watching me. I realized this wasn't just about food anymore. It was about freedom. See, for years, I let someone else's opinion dictate how I saw myself. I'd stand in the kitchen, making dishes with heart and soul, only to serve them up to someone who had no intention of understanding me. And when you hear, "You're not good enough times," you start to believe it. But that belief? That's the lie. The truth is, nobody gets to measure your passion by their own limitations. I started saying that in interviews, on camera, in posts, and people responded, not just with likes and comments, but with stories of their own. One woman sent me a video of her mom crying after trying my mac and cheese recipe. Another told me her teen daughter finally asked to cook dinner after watching my channel. That hit me, because I remembered being that kid, the one who tried to be creative and just got shut down. Now, I was helping people reclaim the kitchen, and in some wild twist of fate, so was Dean. He'd gone from being my biggest critic to my loudest hype man. At a family barbecue, I caught him bragging to my uncle about how he helped me master my sear game. I didn't correct him, let the man have his moment. He'd come a long way. He even started a little cooking club at work. 3 guys from his office meet once a month and try new recipes together. They text me questions sometimes. One even sent me a picture of his attempt at souffle. It collapsed, but the effort, a plus. Funny how the loudest doubters sometimes turn into the most dedicated students. But the most unexpected moment came about a year later, when I got invited to do a cooking demo. On the same show I had won originally, this time not as a contestant, as a guest judge. Yep. They were bringing me back to sit on the other side of the table and weigh in on new home chefs trying to make their mark. When I walked on set, the crew actually cheered. I couldn't stop smiling. It felt like I had stepped fully into the life I always dreamed about, the one I was once told wasn't possible.
I judged fairly, gave thoughtful feedback, and at the end of the show, they surprised me with something I didn't see coming. They rolled a clip montage, my first audition, my winning dish, and finally, a segment of me making the garlic chicken with the voiceover. Clara taught us that greatness doesn't always come from culinary school. Sometimes it starts in your own kitchen, with your own fire. I teared up. For real. After the taping, I walked off set and called my mom. She cried too. And then she said something I'll never forget. I always knew you'd do something amazing with your hands. Your grandma would be proud. And that was it. All those years of doubt, erased. All the snide comments, the awkward dinners, the passive-aggressive tips, they didn't matter anymore. Because in the end, I didn't just become a chef. I became undeniable. I think we all have a Dean in our lives. Someone who tries to shrink you, box you in, make you feel small for daring to dream bigger than their comfort zone allows. But here's what I learned. You don't have to prove them wrong with words. You prove them wrong by becoming everything they said you couldn't. So if you're out there holding back on your dream because someone made you feel like it was silly or not good enough, cook anyway, write anyway, build anyway. Because one day you just might look up and see the same people who doubted you sitting in your front row cheering like they knew it all along. And when that day comes, smile, stir the sauce, and serve it hot.